Hello and welcome to part 9 of my Hogwarts mock series. This video is going to be about the first new part of the castle that I built since this video series started, which is my potions classroom. But first I thought I'd just do a short little extra bit here. First of all, to say apologies for anyone who was waiting for a video on Friday. Life is starting to get back to a little bit more normal back here in the UK, so things are getting a little bit busier and I haven't got quite as much time for videos. So I am now going to be releasing videos hopefully just once a week every Monday, and that might be a Hogwarts update or that might be a review or a mock or something. It'll depend on what I've got going on that week. Also, just quickly to say that in this video I am going to be taking a look at the back of Hogwarts Castle to see how each piece flows into the next. That was specifically requested in a comment on a previous video, so I'll turn the whole castle around and we'll be able to have a look at how the pieces join together. But first we'll get on with the topic of today's video, which is the potions classroom. So, starting off with something familiar, here is the quad entrance building, or the Stonebridge Tower building, which I've previously done a video about, and I talked in that video about the fact that I was going to be adding on rockwork underneath, as I am for the rest of the castle. In fact, I think I showed in my last Hogwarts overview that I had completed the rockwork around the bottom, but I didn't show what was going on behind it. So, I will now turn it around. And you'll see, added to the bottom, there is the potions classroom. Now, because it's all the way at the bottom and there aren't any windows, it is a little bit dark. So what I will do is I will take off the top layers so we can get a little bit of light inside there and take a closer look. So that's the quad building removed, and that has really reminded me that I did not design this to come apart. The actual building itself is in a little bit of a sorry state just there. It was more of an explosion than a graceful taking apart there, but no problem, it's Lego, I can put it back together. In fact, I've updated my studio files of the castle, so they are now more or less accurate to what I've built physically, so if anything does go wrong like that, I can just look back at that and get it rebuilt. But anyway, on with the potions classroom. Now, as you might be able to tell, and as I think I've mentioned previously, this is inspired, at least in part, by the Hogwarts Moment set, also called the Potions Classroom, which I reviewed recently. See the link up in the corner. And I was mostly inspired, as I think I've again said before, by this piece at the back, this arch piece. If you can see through to there, that is the arch which is present at the back of the Potions Classroom, Snape's classroom, and later Slughorn's, and that use of that piece and that sticker is just absolutely perfect, and that was what inspired me to create this. As I mentioned, because that was 7 bricks high, it necessitated raising the entire castle by an extra brick, which I think the overall effect is really great, so I'm glad I did do it. And I'm glad that it worked out here because I think the whole thing looks fantastic. So you can see I've got that arch at the back, and then on either side I've got one of those reddish brown panels. Only one comes in the set, so I ordered another one of those and also a second sticker sheet. So I've got a second entire sticker sheet for that set, which has proved quite useful. I've managed to make use of pretty much all of the major pieces from that set as well. So I will just take out this table here, taking it apart. And you can see I've got the soot-faced Seamus behind there as well. There I've got another one of the potions cabinets in a door frame. I've also got the sticker on the inside of the panel just there. And then if we look to the side, I've managed to find a way, that's actually a panel on its side, but I managed to find a way of getting that into the wall. It's not very visible, but I quite like the effect. I might swap that round with that other panel there, but for the moment I'm very happy with how it looks. This doesn't actually lead anywhere, this corridor down here. I kind of designed it so that it looked like it would go somewhere, and in fact I actually tried to build some stuff into this part here, which is the actual stone bridge, but as you can see, there's not really room for anything back here, and it was just easier to make the thing solid overall. One thing I'm very proud of in this part of the castle is the way that I've managed to fit it in with what exists on the outside. I obviously built that first, and that's part which I wanted to look at least mostly accurate to the castle in the films, so I couldn't really change that too much. But I'm pretty happy that I managed to fit this in the existing shape. So you can see you've got that one layer of tan bricks there, and then immediately behind it is a layer of light bluish grey bricks. That's another thing that I decided to do the dungeons in light bluish grey rather than tan, partly because of that piece that I'd already got. That piece does come in tan, but it's a little bit pricey, and partly because I just like the idea that it makes everything a little bit more dank and dull. I won't be continuing it for everything underneath the castle. For instance, I'm designing the Hufflepuff common room and the kitchens, and those are both done in tan because I think they're much warmer, happier places. But the potions classroom in the dungeons and probably the Slytherin common room, which I will also be working on at some point in the future, are going to be done in this light bluish grey because it just looks better overall. I took it off earlier, but you'll see the small table here. This is very similar both to the one in the potions classroom and also to the one in the Whomping Willow set, which is where I got this inspiration from, to just add those two little plates there. And that just sits right on the edge there, still leaving room for minifigures to walk behind, as it were, and that just shows an explosion in the cauldron, hence putting Seamus behind it. Something else that I'm quite happy with is the arches. Now obviously you can see I've used these arches here. They're in two parts, secured with this modified plate along the top with these little lamps. I don't think the potions classroom actually had lamps like this, but I think they just look quite nice and they fill in what is otherwise a completely blank space. But for these smaller arches, I decided that given the length, I wanted there to be at least two arches. It's not quite wide enough for me to fit a third one in, especially as I wanted this to line up just here. So I came up with the idea of these smaller arches. Now, I could have left them completely blank, but I thought, why not include something inside the columns? Actually inspired by another piece, which was in the Potions Classroom Hogwarts Moment set, which was inside here. So I figured, why not? I get two more of those, put some stones in, and then use a lot of those cylinder pieces along with the gold toppers just to make racks of potions. So I will put this all back together and then we will head back on over to Hogwarts and take a look around the back. And here we are around the back of the castle. Just doing this bit handheld because it'll give us a better opportunity to get in and around all the different pieces. So we'll start off at the Great Hall. This is not a view I normally get of the entire castle, as it's a little bit of a faff to turn the whole thing around, but definitely worth it to show you how it all connects together. So we've got the Great Hall there, with Dumbledore heading out into the entrance courtyard. Just have a look over the roofs. You can see down into the courtyard and the boathouse, and one of the boats making its way across the lake. So we come down, and then when you're inside the Great Hall, what you've basically got to imagine is that this little bit here is the entrance hall with the statue of the Hogwarts architect just there. As I think I mentioned in that first video, I didn't have the space, let's put it that way. I didn't have the space to put in another wall. I could have done, but it would have meant that I would have had to get another set of doors and then they would have needed space to open. So essentially, I combined the entrance hall and the Great Hall into one building. And you just have to use your imagination that you come in and you're in the entrance hall and you can either carry on into the Great Hall or you can turn and go this way. And you go this way and that takes you to this staircase here. You can either come up the staircase or you can come out and along this corridor. In future, the idea will be that you'll be able to come this way towards the camera, which is where the quad actually is, about where I'm filming from, but obviously I haven't built that bit yet and we're at the edge of the table, so not really room to do that just yet. Down here you can see the potions classroom that we just talked about, and next to it is another bit which I won't look at quite just yet because I'm saving that for next week's video. So you come along the corridor here and you get to all the different pieces that I talked about in the video on the quad building, or you can go up the staircase just here, get round past that lamp, across that little bit of corridor there, and then if I get up, there's just some very small stairs which lead you into McGonagall's classroom. Now, there isn't a way to get to every room and every building and every level in the castle, because that would just take up so much space. It's the same reason that LEGO, at least until recently, didn't put a lot of stairs in their buildings and didn't put toilets everywhere, because they just take up space. And we can just assume they're there just off camera. So we get to the end of this building and get to McGonagall's office. As I've just said, there isn't a way to get to every building, but I think it's nice just to have a suggestion. You can then carry on up the Grand Staircase Tower all the way to the top. If you don't want to go into this part of the building, you can instead continue on along here, and you get to this portrait, which incidentally I've changed slightly since I did the video on there, just updated the colour and the size of it. And you can come along here, over the stone bridge, and then, as I mentioned in the videos for these two buildings, I wanted to continue this on in through the turret, but that would have required a lot of rebuilding. So I actually found a way that these two nestle absolutely perfectly together, and you can just carry on here, just ignoring the little gap, down the stairs and into the viaduct entrance building. Of course, you can also use the route along the outside of the castle. You can see the little door in the side of the Great Hall there. You can follow that path along here and then in through the viaduct entrance building and get to the same place. Or you can go from the courtyard across the viaduct and in through there. That's it as far as the connected buildings at the moment. Obviously we've got the astronomy tower just here, but at the moment it just sits apart from everything else on a very colourful base. The reason for that is that it's connected to the building which is behind the viaduct entrance hall, which I am working on at the moment. And when I do, I'll do a little bit of a redesign so that we can make sure that everything goes together properly. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for your patience, and it's been great to get back in, even though it's only a few days since I missed that last video. As I mentioned before, I am now going to try and go down to one video a week, just for my own sanity, if nothing else, but I do have to say thank you so much for everybody's support. It's been crazy how much support and helpful comments and likes and subscriptions I've got, and it's really pushed me forward, and I hope to be able to give you lots more content in the future. So obviously I'm going to be continuing on the build of bits of the castle that I've already finished. So for instance, I'm going to be doing the kitchens just in there, as well as the Hufflepuff common room, and then continuing around the side, I've got things like the Slytherin common room, I've got possibly a Chamber of Secrets somewhere, and then all sorts of other little cameos around the building. There are a few things that I'm going to be saving for other parts of the castle, such as Gryffindor Tower and the Divination Classroom, just because they, at least in the films, are supposedly in parts of the castle which I'm not modelling as of the moment. They will come in the future, so don't worry about that. Another thing that I'm going to be doing soon is not actually getting Lego, but getting some better ways of displaying it. So maybe not by next video, but maybe the one after, I might do a little time-lapse possibly, showing what I'm going to be doing in my part of the room, which is a little bit exciting. So thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, drop a like down below. And if you want to see more of my content, then please subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time. Bye.